We're on the public hearing, right, Aaron? I'll make sure I'm in the right place.
I just got the one that was on the agenda.
I'm gonna have my agenda, and I forgot to bring it. Do you have an extra agenda, Chris? Or an off here?
Yeah.
I can get it. I just have my. Have a file. Print it out, left it on the printer. I'm good at that.
No.
Thank you. You thought you make it like an airplane. From that.
You know.
We're good.
Good, how we doing?
Hi, Alan.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. First, we have a public hearing. We'll stand for the pledge of the flag first. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, clerk, do the roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman is absent. Councilwoman Allen. Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilwoman Smith. Here. Supervisor Reed.
Here. The first resolution is Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with no additions.
I will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained.
You do have a heart.
I do. Next, we will open the public hearing. Nick Rand. Do either of you gentlemen care to comment on the Town of Rochester public hearing on extending the moratorium until December 15th? No.
I thought that's why you were here.
Ren, I have a feeling I know the answer, but I'm double checking that you don't wish to speak on the public hearing on extending the moratorium until December 15th.
Correct.
Okay. There are no written comments?
No.
Okay. With that, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. First resolution, we will vote on that local law. It will be renamed Local Law 9 of 2023. Throughout the resolution, it's still listed as Local Law blank because we didn't know what number it would be. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted the moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review, presented as Local Law 3 of 2022 on June 2nd, 2022. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted an extension moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review, presented as Local Law 6 of 2023 on June 1, 2023. Whereas the town board has worked diligently this past year on adoption of new subdivision and zoning codes, holding 30 public hearing sessions on subchapters of proposed codes. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board is completing review of the many comments received from these hearings and believes additional time will be in the best interest of all involved. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board proposes Local Law blank of 2023, extending the moratorium until December 15, 2023. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board refers such local law to the Town of Rochester Planning Board and Ulster County Planning Board for comment. Whereas the Town of Rochester Planning Board offered no comments for Local Law blank of 2023. Whereas the Ulster County Planning Board offered a no county impact statement. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board held public hearing on Local Law blank on September 7, 2023. No speakers or written comments were received. The town of Rochester continued the hearing until September 14th, 2023, due to waiting for the Ulster County Planning Board review, and closed on the same date. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board identified such action as a type 2 action under 6 NYC RR Part 617, State Environmental Quality Review, excuse me, also known as seeker, and renamed such local law as local law, that should say 9 of 2023 on September 14th. Sorry. 2023. Therefore, the town of Rochester renames local law blank as local law 9 of 2023 and further adopts local law 9 of 2023, moratorium on action subject to building permit, site plan, special use permits, or subdivision review, and further requests the town clerk file such local law with the Department of State and notify the building department, code enforcement department, and planning and zoning department of the adoption of this one. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Chrissy, let Kate know that I'll get that to her either tomorrow or worst case Monday. Try to get it either Monday. The August financial report has been filed with the town clerk and reviewed tonight. We are in good shape on both highway and general fund. You can see the percentages of where we stand. We do have some big reimbursement checks coming in highway, hopefully this month. And in the next couple of months, there'll be some big general fund receipts coming in. Upcoming events reminder, I started putting this on the workshop meeting agenda. Is there anything that anyone wants to remind? Actually, I'll go first. Truck Day for the Little Ones Library will be at the church on 209 from 10 to 12 on Saturday. We will have, I'm sure we will have a town highway truck there. We usually do. Our constables are assisting with pedestrian access across 209. And they're doing the towpath run on the 24th of September. I don't know the times, but it's always well attended as well. So, any others?
Well, we'll have a town board meeting right before, but Heritage Day is coming up the first
Saturday, October 7th.
of October, and then we also have plastic recycling collection that day, I think, but maybe I should check about that.
I hope we do, because I have a huge bag to bring in.
People can go on their way to Heritage Day.
Yes.
Or maybe we could have a drop off at Heritage Day.
There you go.
Just a reminder, the after-school program is going to begin this Monday, September 18th. As of earlier this week, there were still spots available. Call the rec department. And there's an adult paint class Friday, September 22nd at 10 a.m.
Good. Thank you very much. You can stick those in Michael's. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is something we've all been working toward for a while. It's discussion of the seeker part 3 and the determination of significance for the granary EEO proposal. This whole packet is your packet involving that. It's kind of in reverse order. At the very back is the latest part 1 that was issued. And Alan, just to confirm, the one of August 10th, 8/10 was the last one that I saw. I just want to make sure I printed the correct one. I believe it is, but you can let me know if I'm incorrect. The part 2 that we adopted, Adobe doesn't have an adopted stamp. It has an approved stamp. So it says approved, but that is the one that we approved last week. And then on top is the draft part 3 that we're going to go through tonight. We kind of talked through this, but you did not see the actual document last week. And then the second document is a list of all the documents that we've received and reviewed, or that we generated, or our consultants generated, or other consultants generated. Also is a list of all the written comment sources and the speakers at public hearing for the 2 public hearings. And this will be filed, all this will be filed as an addendum to this part 3. So this whole packet will be our seeker determination. So I think rather than sitting here and reading 46 pages, what I'd like to do is just go subsection by subsection. I'll ask the board to just review it. Tell me if you have any issues, questions, corrections, changes. And if you have questions, Mary Lou can answer. But I think that'll be the most efficient way.
And I think you should just, for the record, note that this went out to the.
Yes,
the
this
town
was
board
this was
members, so they-
emailed to
they
the
could
town
review
board.
this in advance.
Yeah, this was emailed to the town board. It was worked on by the attorney and myself. It was emailed to the town board on Tuesday, approximately 5 p.m. And they have had it in their possession now for 2 days. So, and we did review it in context last meeting, but not at word for word. So the first is the name of the action. Fairly self-explanatory. I'll just give you a moment, and yeah, you can just kind of let me know when you're ready to move on. Okay, so everybody okay with that section? So then the seeker status, this is a type 1 action. We classified it, and I did find, I know we redid it last week because we couldn't remember if we had actually done a resolution.
My name of action, you're missing your quotation on the other side of the lane.
No, I added it, but not that one. Missed it, thank
Oh,
you.
that's the one I meant.
Oh, oh,
Sorry.
that's okay,
I'll find the extra one.
thank you. Good catch, I appreciate that. So it is a type 1 action. We did adopt it June 15th, 2022. We had set initial examination, and we sent a coordinated review letter out with notice to intent to seek lead agency on May 5th. We waited the required 30 days. We only got 1 response back from an agency which said they did not want to be lead agency. No one else responded back. And we assumed it on June 15th. So the description of the action is straight out of the applicant's petition. What they are asking for, they're asking for inclusion in the economic enterprise overlay zone on parcels that are being reviewed. In addition, they will require site plan approval for the adaptive reuse. And they will also have to do a lot line revision to merge the 5 existing lots into 1 lot. The project site is just a listing of the SBL numbers. And the buildings that are involved are the granary, the coal barn, the tall barn, the Sears house, the 4 towpath road premises, and the 8 towpath road premises. Those are the buildings that are involved in this project. Next is a list of the project's consultants. Next is a list of Brinier and Larios, who prepared the plans and documents for this. The history of the project, it totals 7 acres. It's currently operated by the Granary Anderson Seed Mill, the Steen Smith House and the McKay House, parking, access facilities, utilities, and related appurtenances. It ceased operations approximately 1970, has been vacant in a state of disrepair since then. So it has lacked any sort of maintenance for over 50 years. And the applicant will upgrade the premises consistently with the fire code and building code requirements, as well as the town of Rochester code. They also propose that it fits in the Hamlet District and in the Economic Enterprise Overlay designation requirements. And as part of the initial application, the applicant met with the town of Rochester town board and town officials, the code enforcement officer, to discuss the use and occupancy. Review of the petition was initiated with the initial zoning permit that was presented March 5th, 2021 to the code enforcement officer. And that which was referred then to the town board due to the EEO designation. On October 27th in 2021, the applicant presented to the town board. Oh, I'm sorry, they presented the zoning petition and application. We then referred the application to the local planning board as is required under the code. And on April 2022, we commenced review of the application for site plan and zoning change review. You might remember that initially we had a meeting in December that was canceled at the applicant's request. The next meeting that we met as a body was on this process was April 20th.
There's a 7.2.
Thank you. Yes, it is. We were initially unclear if it was 7 acres or 7.2, and we did confirm it's 7. So if you see a 7.2, please let me know. I thought I got them all, but next, an amended petition was submitted on April 22nd, 2022, which modified the original plan. It added 1.5 acres. And then on May 6th, 2022, lead agency notice was circulated, and I actually should say, I believe May 5th. I'm going to double check that date.
And I'm gonna interrupt for a minute.
Yeah.
Because on the part 1, in the brief description of the proposed action,
Yeah.
it is 7.2 acres.
Okay. So we will change all of them to
So for the
7.2.
next 7, and that's what it is also in the proposed and potential development, so. All those 7 O's are now 7 2s.
Well, there must be a later one. I got a copy of it. Is that, I think, you recalculated it, right? It was 6.99.
So 6.95 to round, so,
Okay, and
You
this
have
one,
that, right?
yeah, I got it.
this one that you've given us, it says 7.2 throughout.
Yeah, I just took this from the August 10th. So was there an additional one after that?
No. This one reads, the project involved the adaptation of 6 structures, and addition of 1 structure on the 7-acre park.
Part of it is it didn't help Dennis when he amended these, just wrote the month and not the date. So it just says amended July 2023 on the tail end.
It's the same thing this one says. This covers the 7 acres, which is the latest version. And it also.
Okay,
He called it 80 versus 80.
That's a problem though. We don't have possession of that version.
Well, Alan's got a copy.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't get it to all the board. Because I don't know which. They were coming so fast and
Maybe
furious at the
It
tail end.
does say, yeah. And this one is 7 2, so what date is that, Alan?
I don't remember the exact date because I printed it out. Our version's at our office. It's on the server.
Well, I only have EAF version 1 through 6, so listed on my question would be if I even received it.
I believe I sent it to you via email. Go back and check.
This is full, this is supposed to be the full EAF form, part 1,
Yes.
Yeah.
and you're saying that's version 6?
This is version
That's version
7, I believe it's 7.
Okay.
And it says 7 acres and it calls it in. So the other one's also called it mistake may be made.
Hmm. Well, I just did a search for your emails and the last one I find is July 27th, and I know that's not.
And of course, I'm trying to search on my phone and, you know.
Wait a minute, letter and revised plan, 25. The new plan,
The letter describing changes to project plan, 11 by 17 attachment, and 24 by 36 site plan. Is that the one you're looking at, Mike?
scrolling to the tail end to see if there's a part one at the back end of it, and I don't see a part
Yeah.
one at the back end of it. I just see new details. (818). Got new drawings. I have new drawings. I don't have, I think I have a new EAF.
Would you possibly hand that in, Mike, at the meeting that Mike could not be here? You were ill? I mean, you still should have a copy. I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, I don't have another EAF after 810 from you. I have drawings, but no EAF.
Well, I mean, we could submit this one, like, what you want, I mean, the only change is 7-0 from 7-2.
I'd want to put it side by side and make sure that that's the only change, so.
Yeah, and in instead of that reference, but you can take a look at
Well,
it.
we've been calling it an inn all along because in order to be a bed and breakfast, you have to be a residential use, so.
Yeah, we'll just say-
Yeah, we've never been calling it an inn.
But the,
When we adjusted the acreage, properly like the rounding, at the same time, we took care of that in because
Yeah.
granted, it's generically.
May I have that copy and I can?
And I need to make a copy of one of the prior readings out of that.
Yeah, because I just went through and I have the August 10th submission, which is the one that I printed with the board, but I don't have another EAF mailed from you, and I've just looked at the word Larios. And so I would assume that Dennis would have been copied on it, but I don't see it anywhere.
I haven't been able to find it either, so.
Yeah, because as soon as I got them, I forwarded them to the board. You want to take this and check it against what I gave you while we continue reading through? Is the board comfortable with that to see what the changes are on it, and Mary Lou can confirm for us? And that way I'm not taking you guys away from the process.
You should, I mean, continue this, but you should reconfirm your part 2,
Yes,
because you'll be using.
yes. Well, we'll see what changes.
Yep.
If it's only the 7.
Yep.
Yeah, so you'll tell us what changed and then we decide. what we need to do about that. Okay, so then moving on. In the review. Like I said, I need to check the date we did I've got May 5th in one place and May 6th in one place, but I will correct it to the appropriate date. The statutory requirements and the interest in involved agencies. The involved agencies are obviously the Town of Rochester Town Board, the Town of Rochester Planning Board, the DEC, Ulster County Health Department, the Department of Public Works, the Industrial Development Agency, the Empire State Development, New York State Housing and Community Redevelopment Agency. Those two are for, actually, and the New York Main Street Stabilization Program. Those three are potentially grant opportunities that the applicant may seek, so they had to be included. I won't read through the list of statutory authority, but it was provided from the applicant's attorney. The interested agencies are the Ulster County Planning Board, Town of Rochester Building Inspector, New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, the Town of Rochester Highway Department, the Town of Rochester Historic Preservation Commission, and a list of the statutory authority for those. We note that the long EAF has been consistently updated during the project review, and I'm gonna just add in with the final copy, August dated, but we don't know the date, so maybe we don't know the date it was produced. Is there any way you can tell the date of that document? It's August. It's after August 10th, obviously. Actually, you know what? We'll say noted as version 7 by the applicant.
Yeah, basically, only the change on it that mentioned in, and there's clarification on the railroad grade.
Now, in your potential development though, you have 7.2 on both of them. I mean, it's a plus or minus.
Yeah.
I'm fine if you use version 6 and 7.2 plus or minus. That's so close. I don't
Okay.
think that affects your
It's the
your
secret
environmental review.
Yeah, I just wanna, yeah, I would rather you verify that what the changes are between those two.
I can do that, but what I'm saying is,
No, I
in the
understand,
new one, it says 7 in one spot
right.
and 7.2 in another.
But with the engineer, we can make a correction to that in tonight's meeting before we vote. And just clarify that that correction was made tonight, but I would rather know that there's no other differences in it.
Also, Mike, I did find it in the Google Drive for August 10th.
No,
Right, no,
no, this is
August
August
10th we
18th. The
Oh, okay.
10th is the one I printed for you guys tonight. This one did not
That
come to
was
me.
18th, sorry, I was just.
Yeah,
I
it
just checked the
it
drive
never
really quick to
never
see.
arrived in my email, so I got the plan changes on the 18th, but I didn't get a seeker change. So,
Gotcha, I was just checking the
Yeah.
drive to make sure.
Yeah. yeah, thank you. But that's the one I printed for you guys today, was the August 10th. Okay, so moving on, we are now on page 8. There were no objections raised at the town board being lead agency. We continue to coordinate with our consultants, who were Mary Lou Christiana, attorney, and Peak Engineering, with the town's engineering and traffic study consultant, Scott Davis and Nadine Carney. We also referred the full statement to the Ulster County Planning Board. And the Ulster County Planning Board provided its recommendation, which is quoted in here, which was approved.
Recommendations is missing a quote. And the full
Yep.
clear line.
Got it. I got sloppy and forgot the second quote on everything.
I think
Okay.
this is the whole thing. I don't think you were missing it on this one.
No, where it says recommendations approved. He's talking about.
But then you'll
Oh,
get another.
that's all the way at the end. Got it. I did put it in there. Thank you.
Um,
On May 24th, 2023, we held a notice public hearing for the zoning petition and the seeker review. Verbal and written comments were received concerning the project, and the people that spoke or presented written are listed in that addendum. During the public hearing periods, there were numerous comments received. We endeavored to make it clear that environmental concerns raised in record must be adequately addressed in order to meet the hard look standard under seeker. We then engaged in further administrative review and consideration of the site plan, and the applicant submitted various studies and reports, which have been reviewed by the lead agency and its consultants. Then on August 10th, we examined our previous long form EAF Part 2, which had been done originally at the April 13th, 2023 meeting. We read through each and completing I'm going to add the word draft in there. I'm going to say completing a draft. Coordinated was also included the Town of Rochester Planning Board and the building inspector referrals as is required under the EEO. They both responded indicating they had no comments with respect to recommendations. The planning board will further conduct a site plan review and lot line revision review in accordance with the zoning law and subdivision regulations should the status be granted. We forwarded the administrative review project as part of the legislative and administrative of potential environmental impacts. It was, we also note that it was voluntarily reduced during the review period to address various mitigation measures as a result of public participation and board concerns. That would be the elimination of the retail space flex. That wouldn't be elimination of the flex space. It was elimination of the wellness space. Sorry, got my sentences crossed there. And reduction in retail space and the in-facility. See, there was no change to the ends. I'm going to cross that out. It was the retail space and it was the co-work space actually that was the elimination of the wellness space and reduction of the co-work space. So then consideration of submittals and comments from the interested involved agencies, from the public hearing testimony, the lead agency on September 7th, we ratified the completion of Part 2 and considered the criteria in each case and identified impacts that may be reasonably expected to result from the previous proposed changes and activities, and that will be added to this. So then moving on to those categories, these were the ones that we identified as having no potential impacts based on the tips for completing Part 2 instructions. The impact on geological features, the impact on surface waters. And I'll stop there for a moment so you can each look and see if you have any changes or questions or impact on flooding. The impact on air, and we address both short-term air quality and long-term air quality in that part. I'm just going to make a note. We are back to 7 acres because that one I did change.
I have
I just wanted to go back for a second.
Yep.
Like a little ways back, this is just like a swap, like a order swap.
Yep.
But in addition, the planning board will conduct a site plan.
Where are you on what page?
On page 10,
Okay,
the second paragraph.
Yep.
Or third paragraph, a site plan review and lot line revisions review.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if we should say that they'll do the lot line revision before we say site plan, just in.
Yep. I'm with you.
And then we'll need to swap and then have it say in accordance with subdivision regulations.
Yep.
Because that has to happen before they can get a site.
Understood. Everybody okay with that? Too? Okay. Okay, so we left off on the impact on air, page 11, moving into 12. I'll
You
wait for
are-
a moment. Yep.
At the beginning of A, you are missing a quote this time for tips for completing part 2.
Okay. I definitely am.
Wasn't that the only grammatical error I'll find, guys? So, that's about that. Thank you.
Michael's not here, so you are
I
assuming his
I
role
not.
very well.
Very well.
Because this is the stuff that Michael would notice. Yeah, no, I know what the Oxford comma is, and I agree with him. You always put a comma, if you put a list of things
And
before the and,
Absolutely.
that's
that is
the
actually
Oxford
probably the
comma.
only grammatical
Yeah,
word. Everything else.
and when you do a word spell check and grammatical check, it does put it in there for you. It tells you didn't put it in.
But one space or two after a sentence. Period. They never mind.
It's one. Yeah, I've read it should be one.
Microsoft Word wants it.
Yeah, I read it was outdated. Anyway, okay, moving on, is everybody okay with the air quality statements? Okay, the impacts on plants and animals, we had heard back from the DEC and from the applicant's original EAF, where it's checked against the DEC records, that there are no endangered or threatened species identified in that area. So, and they also submitted, and my apologies, it was submitted so long ago that I did not have it in the Google Drive. I found it in my computer. It was in another file because it came in 2021. It's been sitting in there for 2 years, but I added it to the Google Drive, and it clearly was presented to us. They had the email from it. So we, that was added in, and that was the study done by Ecological Solutions LLC. Or as one of my favorite terms from Mr. Moriel is Bugs and Bunny guy. Next, we talk about agricultural resources. There are no agricultural properties on the site. Next, we talk about open space and recreation. That was brought up about the rail trail. At current plans, there is no plan for the rail trail to go through that property. Any future plans would have to involve the town of Rochester, the applicant, potentially Ulster County. And I will say emphatically, the town and the county, well, I shouldn't say the county, the town and OSI, who is studying the entire O&W rail trail from beginning to end right now. We met and I asked them to explore the idea of going along Granite Road. If that, if that extension becomes a possibility. So they are looking into that possibility. I didn't include that in here because that's just a discussion at this point, but I want to be clear at no, right now, the rail trail extension is not part of the application. It is not currently planned, and if it is in future planned, it will go through its own review process. Next is critical environmental area. We do not have any in the town of Rochester, and there are none located in other municipalities nearby. The impact on human health. These are sort of generic. At one point to bring up, they are going to remove the lead paint that is on the existing buildings, and they will be performed by a licensed lead paint, but abatement professional, and discussions have already commenced a long time ago with Mr. Davis from the Code Enforcement and Building Department of what would be required for that process. Went into at length the consistency with community plans, how this does fit the comprehensive plan. I reviewed the proposed analysis of the proposed uses. So the restaurant, tavern, coffee shop is a permitted use in the Hamlet District with site plan review. The bike shop, which is retail, is a permitted use with site plan review. The artist gallery, galleries themselves are allowed with special use permit. The co-work space, we do not have a definite definition for co-work space in our code. However, you could classify it either as,
It's not lightning.
no, it's not lightning tonight. I think it's 6 if I remember right.
We're getting 5 from the public.
Oh.
But you guys would know.
We know well. Sometimes we'd swear it was 6. But
There you go. Okay, the co-work space, it could be classified as a retail and service establishment or potentially an office space. Either one would be a principal permitted use with site plan. The back of house and office space is a permitted use with site plan. The inn is a permitted use with site plan, and the worker housing is a principal permitted use. So we note that multiple permitted uses under our conventional zoning would require a special use permit, but it is allowed with, according to density, to do multiple uses on a property with site plan, excuse me, with special use. Then I listed the requested waivers, and I did go through the code with the plan I did identify 2 additional waivers that we had not spoke about, and I will point them out as we do this. So the first we have discussed, the applicant is requesting to accommodate 6 off-premises parking spaces in the municipal parking lot. When we discussed this, the parking space size in our code is 10 by 20. They have requested a reduction to 9 by 18. This one was not addressed. Our code allows 12 continuous spaces in a row. In the front parking, there are 13 spaces in a row with no break or landscaping. So that would be an addition of 1 unit. And commercial parking area in the front yard. Again, our code, I don't remember if it's a requirement or a recommendation that it be in the rear and side yard, but they are asking for some parking in the front yard. Our code also requires a 20-foot depth planting strip separation from the roadway to parking. They did not request this, but their plan does not show that. And then finally, the coal barn and the granary cupolas are greater than 35 feet, which is our height restriction. However, they are non-conforming pre-existing, and they also were originally agricultural use. So it's not particularly a waiver, they would be exempt. The waivers are supported by the record. As I said, not all were specifically requested, but They were identified by reviewing the plans. And the preservation of the two cupolas is integral to the historic preservation efforts. We're finding that the physically developed premises is consistent with the EEO zoning district, and it's consistent with zoning law, local law 3 of 2018. So next we talk about the sections of the code that this meets and the sections of the comprehensive plan that this meets. So I'll pause there. I'm up to the letter F on page 19 now. So if you guys are all on the same page, I'll move on. I didn't want to get too far ahead of anybody. Then we talk about that the planning board will also review certain objectives of the site plan along with their review. And those will be design, traffic access, parking, loading, and interior circulation, landscaping, pedestrian and outdoor lighting, drainage, water, sewer, building design, energy conservation, fire and police access and protection, compatible with surrounding structures, and pedestrian travel in general, lighting being dark sky compliant, and I'm going to change handicap to ADA accessibility. So then we make these additional findings that are direct from quotes from the comprehensive plan. That is the letters Roman numeral 1 through 7. Moving on to page 21. In regard to mitigation, we've considered the public hearing comments and reviewed the entire project site, the enhancements and the impacts. The applicant's attorney submitted detailed legal memorandum to address neighborhood character. And we talk about some of the case law involved with that. And finally, we talk about that economic figures and tax information are not relevant to zoning change requests, and we can't lawfully consider them. And we also haven't considered in a positive or negative way environmental findings within the Declaration of Environmental Significance. So we're not reviewing it in a positive or negative, we're just reviewing the facts as they are presented. So based on that, we're saying it will not create a material conflict with any town of Rochester plans or goals that are officially approved or adopted. Next, we get to the no or small impacts. These were the ones that we answered yes in part 2, but then checked no or small impact in every box. The impact on land, we talk about stormwater permits. Their land disturbance is 0.9 acres. 1.0 acres is the threshold for a stormwater permit, so they are not required to do one. However, they have indicated they will do treatment, attenuation, and sediment control using traditional methods. They will also work within the New York State Design Manual for Erosion and Sediment Control and the Ulster County Sanitary Codes. And it'll be mitigated with roof drains and stormwater drainage system with catch basins and adequately sized collection and conveyance for discharge from both the roofs and the parking area. Impact on aesthetic resources. We talk about the adaptive reuse, which preserves and enhances the character of the existing buildings with little change to the outward appearance. They're going to utilize green technologies. We did see presented to us, it was not delivered to us or given, the plans were not given to us, but we did see at one of the meetings conceptual design plans that were aesthetically pleasing and adaptive reuse of the site. The planning board will be reviewing those more extensively. Based on that and the testimony of the architect, we're satisfied that the visual impacts have been adequately examined. We again talk about the height of the cupolas not needing a variance or a waiver. And moving next to historic and archaeological resources. The site was noted on the EAF as being in an archaeological area of concern. I don't want to use the word concern, archaeologically sensitive location. There was consistent communication between Joseph Diamond and the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation. And ultimately they issued a no impact reply back, which is in our, no adverse effect letter. We also received similar regarding the historic properties, as this is located in the National Register district and is a contributing property in that district. So because of those, we do not see a significant impact in archaeological or historic. Next is impact on energy. They'll use during construction, well, actually following construction. They will use customary and normal energy sources. They have indicated that they are going to use green energy as much as possible to minimize the carbon footprint. And then they're going to work with the DEC's policies about a redevelopment and the minimization of tree cutting. And their goal is to be a Scope 3 carbon neutral business. And they're going to further work to provide a project which is considerably improved from those attributes of a conventional energy use multifamily occupancy project. And it will not result in a major change in the use or quantity or type of energy. Then we address the impacts that we classified as moderate to large. And just to clarify, we're not required to do the ones we just went over under the part 3. We normally do. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. In this case, it was important to, because we want to include that we had considered them and how we arrived that they were either no or small impact or they didn't apply. So the part C is the part that part 3 normally addresses, the moderate to large. We start out with impact on groundwater. And the documentation has been submitted by Bernier Larios. They're going to adaptively reuse the existing current conditions of the premises. There are no developed slopes exceeding 15%. And so there's no potential for regulatory impacts on water. Then addressing sewage disposal system. The engineers submitted a July 12th flow confirmation letter from the Ulster County Health Department. And they speak about the flow. The gallons per day would be 3,570 gallons per day of sanitary waste. They show how they arrived at that. And then they broke down by category and the different impacts of the sanitary waste from the inn, from food service, from the kitchen and bathrooms, and then the total. And then moving on to page 28, the wastewater disposal system. There will be regulatory approvals from the Board of Health for the temporary residents, the food service, the public water supply, and the subsurface discharge of sanitary waste. And we listed in what they provided as how they will be doing it. Then on March 1st, the Ulster County Health Department submitted written confirmation the wastewater discharge flows were confirmed, or that report were confirmed. So we based on that, we say there'll be no substantial change in the existing ground or surface water quality or quantity as a result. There also will be moderate to large impacts for new water supply wells and new water demand. The total water usage per day is 3,759 gallons per day, total projected. The existing on-site well is capable of providing the volume of water that will service the project at 18 gallons per minute. The full Part 5 water quality testing of the well will be part of the record documentation provided to the health department for a non-community public water supply. And physical separation in excess of that required by the Department of Health will be employed to separate the well from the sewer and reserve. And the on-site well is already providing potable water to existing houses comprising the site. Regarding transportation, we identified two elements. The traffic increase may exceed capacity of the existing road network, and the proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. They submitted a traffic report, traffic generation report dated March 1st, citing 522 day trips and 88 trips, PMP, 48, sorry, thank you. That was reviewed by our consulting engineers. It was further reduced on a submittal that was dated September 7th, stating that the traffic counts would be 457 total day trips and 40 PM peak trips. The consulting engineer concurred that this is not a significant impact increase based on the secret Part 2. We cite the traffic related documentation and with respect to the traffic impacts based on the traffic information report, the channelization, fencing, gate restricted, and employee parking and signage requirements that we spoke about at length with the applicant's engineer. The 4 parking spots near 4 towpath road are existing, and they were marked as such on the plans. They were also demarcated on the plans with an X as we requested. There are a total of 3 ADA parking spots. 2 were originally proposed. An additional spot was added near the bike shop as requested by the town board. The wellness component was deleted by the applicant, resulting in the deletion of 2 required parking spots. The co-work space was reduced to 1,881 square feet, which resulted in the deletion of 2 more additional spots. 5 additional spots have been added from the original plan. A no parking turnaround has been provided at the end of the parking area and access road as we requested. The proposed timing of deliveries during off hours by the applicant, the demarcation of accessible pathways, the total number of on-site parking spaces increased by 4 to a total of 57, with the requested off-site parking spaces reduced to 6 as requested by the town board from the original. The applicant's requesting a waiver on the parking space size from 10 by 20 to 9 by 18. And the truck movements in the proposed delivery area were confirmed to meet the zoning code standards by our consulting engineer. Based upon those improvements, we feel that they were adequately addressed. The same is identified as moderate to large, and it's not environmentally significant. Although it's currently occupied and a result, by definition, alteration of people or goods will occur, find that the potential adverse environmental impact does not rise to a level, the same would be significant. Redevelopment of the site will be afforded access to a well-defined and adequate roadway network, which will be access from Route 209, Granite Road, and Towpath Road. We're satisfied with the traffic assessment for accurate traffic investigation and future growth. Pedestrian safety. We note that sidewalks are not provided for. There are no existing sidewalks to connect to the post office. And the employment of sidewalks is of limited utility. It's further noted that the Ulster County Planning Board, as a longstanding proponent of sidewalks countywide, did not see fit to reference sidewalks within its recommendations. However, at the Gateway meeting, May 20th, 2022, the Ulster County Public Works representative and the county planning director recommended to the applicant request of a controlled intersection at the intersection of Main Street, Granite Road, and Towpath Road with installation of stop signs and painted crosswalks. The applicant proposed such on their site plan, and the town board would have to make requests for such to the county and town highway agencies. And I have that request on tonight's resolutions. The town lead agency also takes notice of the fact that site distance is adequate for roadway access and related signage have been proposed in order to channel the flow of traffic in and around the subject premises. And they documented associated analysis will be further refined during the site plan review. So based on all that, we say that there will not be a substantial adverse change in traffic levels. Next, we talk about noise, odor, and light.
Hold on, Mike, I have a change for
Yep.
something in that section.
Yep.
Back at the beginning in number 2,
Sure.
when we say that the second paragraph, where it says the lead agency's consulting engineer concurs this is not a significant increase based on the secret part two,
Which page? I'm sorry.
page 29.
Oh, okay. Didn't go back far enough.
She said it wasn't a significant enough increase to require a traffic
Okay.
study. Not,
Okay.
that's still a significant increase for before.
Okay. The lead agency consulting incurred or stated, let's say, stated. You say it again, Cheryl?
It was not a significant enough increase to require a traffic study.
So we'll say, instead of concurs, the lead agency's consulting agency stated, this is not a significant enough increase to warrant a traffic study. Instead of saying based on the secret part 2, we'll say based on the consultant's report.
Yeah, because we didn't ask her if it was a significant change. We asked her if it was.
Right, we asked her
significant
if
enough
there
to
should be
have
any mitigation
Yeah.
measures.
If we should do it, identify.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, is everybody okay with the rest of traffic? So then moving on to noise. Proposed adaptive reuse will be limited in duration and not generate noise levels during the construction period. Then, although noise levels during construction may intermittently be loud, we don't find that the impact rise to a level whereby the same can be said to be significant. Temporary construction noise is customary for development and that regulated hours of operation, intermittent construction, and the generally confined interior nature of the project improvements will assist with mitigation. There's a 7.2, I gotta change to 7. Previous site development, I should put quotes around Hamlet there so I can be consistent. Construction related noise will take place in an area which is already fairly developed. The lead agency finds that the immediate areas surrounding the project site are not identified sensitive receptors for noise impacts. The potential for noise from outdoor music has been addressed by the applicant and examined. Now, I just want to be clear. This is just addressing what they stated. When we consider our approval, we can add in, we can't put conditions in a seeker review, but we can put conditions in a approval So I just want to be clear that we're not including any conditions that we may add in this because we can't consider conditions as whether mitigating or something or not. We can only consider the facts presented to us. So just to be clear, we will be able to add conditions that address any of these topics when we get to considering a decision. So this is voluntarily from what they provided to us, that the indoor and outdoor dining will comply with the Town of Rochester zoning code, section 14020, general noise and commercial standards, subsection F. And that regulations, all proposed new land uses shall not generate cumulative sound levels at or beyond any lot line that exceeds the ambient noise level by 10 or more decibels. They point out that that's a statutory requirement, which is enforceable by law by the code enforcement officer. Notwithstanding, they did make suggestions that they will follow the speakers, and these we can include because they were presented by the applicant as their mitigation measures. The speakers will be set up for indoor and outdoor dining upon completion of the site. The sound will be tested along the perimeter of the site to determine which location on perimeter has the largest difference between ambient and noise levels with music on. Levels on the main amplifier will be tested to determine what amount of amplification raises the most sensitive point by 10 dB. Once the locations are set and levels are discovered, a sound limiter will be installed on the sound system to limit overall amplification to 10 dB or less as required by the town code.
Mike, before you turn the page, the abbreviation you put for decibels isn't matching up with the abbreviation you're using to put 10 dBA.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up and see. These were cut and paste from their report, and it was both. I'll look it up and
Yeah.
I'll look it up
Obviously,
in
it
my-
doesn't look
yeah.
consistent.
Yeah, I'll look it up in my stagehand book to see if it's DBA or DB. I don't remember. But thank you.
I have another 7.2 acres.
Where?
Page 32 last.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, Mike.
yeah, I got that one.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Such as the Atlas Sound, TSD ALC2 audio level controller and limiter. All of the foregoing will be coordinated with the Town of Rochester code enforcement officers so that confirmation of correct methodology, procedure, and interpretation of resultant noise is fully observed. They are proposing outdoor amplified music will cease by 11 p.m. on the weekends, Friday through Sunday, and by 10 p.m. on weekdays, Monday through Thursday. Accordingly, the lead agency is mindful of noise issues that have been attributed to other existing venues located within the Town of Rochester. In this instance, the above mitigation measures are expected to assist greatly with noise mitigation. Long-term noise impacts will not be substantial, as the construction of project enhancements, driveways, parking areas, and related facilities, together with noise resulting from vehicular traffic, indoor-outdoor amplification, and project occupancy will be intermittent and or will be controlled by noise limits, so that the hamlet area in the vicinity of the proposed adaptive reuse project will not be adversely affected thereby. Next, we go into lighting. Yep.
And just a clarification, the dB is short for decibel.
Yeah.
dBA means soft sound. dBc means loud sound.
Oh. So DBA,
There are other weighting scales for a count of range between A weighting soft and C weighting loud. I guess B would be middle.
these should just be dB then for decibels,
Yeah.
because we're not talking about any sort of. So it's D, capital D, or small d, capital D.
Is abbreviation for decibel. dBA is soft.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Lighting, they are proposing that it will all be LED glare shield to avoid light trespass. We did not identify any issues with the lighting, and they will be providing a future lighting plan to the planning board. Odor, there would be no odor will not, there will be no adverse impacts by odor from this project. Community character. Again, fairly lengthy. We examined the specific environmental impacts. The proposed project will utilize 3 structures used for residential purposes in previous use. One structure is reported as not being habited in over 15 years. That structure is proposed to be rehabbed as part of the inn. One structure has been identified as being in poor condition and not possessing a certificate of occupancy. This structure is proposed to be utilized as a commercial bicycle shop. One structure was previously utilized for 2 apartments, either of which were confirmed to be classified as affordable or workforce housing units. The proposed use of this structure is for 2 apartments of worker housing and back of house use. We find the change will not result in a substantial loss of affordable housing. They stated that we did get that in writing, and I emailed that statement to you, that they will make the 2 proposed worker housing never be a short-term rental unit, and the addition of the 2 housing units for the employee is noticed as a continuation of the previous housing stock of 2 units that were inhabitable. Therefore, there's no loss of housing associated with this project. Then there's the additional analysis. These are parts that are in the code, in the text of the law, but not in the part 2. You need to analyze a material demand for other actions that result in 1 or more of the above consequences. We talk about the construction and the related infrastructure, and it won't create any material demand for other actions. We talk about the engineering and the planning of the project and the characteristics and the density. It's capable of accommodating that planned development. The employment, it will create employment. The employment will be intermittent of short duration and will not displace other workers. Potential impact is not substantial. We also talk about create demand for additional community services, EMS, fire, police. That also has not been shown to be the case. There is an adequate number of police, fire, and emergency and response vehicles. And also the site is proximate to the center of the town of Rochester, actually say the hamlet of Accord. That'll be small h. And is easily accessible to, we'll not say several fire departments, we'll say to the Accord Fire District. It's not planned for a phased development, and expected that construction won't continue for more than 1 year. There's another 7.2 that will change to 7.0. With construction personnel, inspectors, visitors, and invitees being a number which is normal and customary for the planned infrastructure improvements and associated development projects. Project site will be self-contained, mixed-use commercial redevelopment. The on-site internal roadways will not be utilized as major collector streets, and the site will not be utilized for major commercial events, such as contemplated by the above paragraph heading. They will install automatic sprinkler systems as required under the fire code. We determined that the planned parking and roadway channelization is adequate to permit fire protection, access to the building, and that will be further reviewed at planning board level. The resulting increase in demand for additional services will be small. A full statement of the action was sent to the Ulster County Planning Board. A second referral will be anticipated as part of the site plan, and a copy of this will be forwarded to the Ulster County Planning Board in accordance with the law. So next, in the next page is changes in 2 or more elements of the environment. No one of which has a significant impact on the environment, but considered together is a substantial increase. We say that there will be no changes in two or more elements that when considered together would cause this. Then we consider two or more related actions undertaken, funded, or approved by an agency, none of which has or would have a significant impact on the environment, but when considered cumulatively would meet one or more of the criteria of Part 6177C. And we say that none of the probable impacts are associated with and result from incremental or increased impacts of this action when such impacts are added to other related past, present, or reasonably foreseeable future actions would be significant. We then go on to say that regard to subsequent actions possibly arise as a result of the proposed project, we've addressed all identified and relevant long-term, short-term, and cumulative impacts. And that the applicant has no identifiable long-range or overall plans for any subsequent development changes in use or other activities related to the proposed project. Then we talk about potential future development. There's currently no information available as to whether any such actions will in fact occur. We do note that some public controversy, both pro and con, related to the proposed project has been experienced. The environmental determination has not been influenced one way or the other as a result of that. That meaning that we cannot just take public outcry or public positiveness about a project under consideration. The comments must be about a specific topic, not just in general, generalized for or against the project. Approval of the action contemplated by the current project before the lead agency does not commit the lead agency to any particular course of action with respect to future development, meaning if we adopt this, we do not necessarily have to adopt a decision, or the planning board does not necessarily have to adopt a decision. It's just saying we are adopting this document at this time. Any future physical expansion of the project and associated development which is approved will require independent and separate environmental access pursuant to seeker, unless it's lawfully determined to be designated as a type 2 or exempt action in accordance with the seeker law. We talked about the continued environmental and other administrative review requirements of the development of the project. We are not, it's not necessary to review a hypothetical worst case analysis of speculative environmental impacts or potential environmental threatened uses, which would be anticipated at some time or in the future. We're satisfied that any possible environmental impacts within the town of Rochester or any lawful change in use of the project site can be adequately addressed through subsequent discretionary administrative environmental review. In making this determination, we've not balanced any potential benefits of the proposed action against any potential harm, nor have we weighed the benefits or detriments of the project from an economic perspective as against the potential efforts associated with the environment. And it's classified as a type 1 pursuant to seeker, and that such classification makes it more likely that an environmental impact statement would be required under the circumstances. We find that the facts and information available support a determination that all probable and relevant adverse impacts have been identified and will not be significant, and therefore an environmental impact statement is not necessary. We again talk about the long-term, short-term, direct, indirect, sequential, and combined impacts, and that's straight out of the law. Those are all the impacts we have to consider. We say no other related or subsequent actions are included in any long-range plans for the site, nor likely to be undertaken. And we determine that the administration record is incorporated herein, which is this part, which we will add that new speaker part 1 to it. Some public controversy. Did I write the same place? And I apologize. I wrote it in sections and then cut and pasted and moved things around. I did list that twice. We'll take that paragraph out there. Sorry. Next, approval of the action contemplated by the current project. Now before the lead agency does not commit to any particular recourse of action with respect to future development of the project site. Beyond what is approved will require independent or separate environmental review. The lead agency notes that although a coordinated review is employed, the planning board is permitted to reasonably rely. The planning board will be required to render its own findings with respect to site plan review, lot line revision. I'll reverse those again there, Aaron. Lot line revision, merger and parcel certification, and any additional non-environmental issues. Due to the continued environmental and other administrative review requirements of any substantial subsequent development activities in the area of the project site on a case-by-case exercise of discretion by reviewing agencies and officials. I think I said the same sentence there twice too about the worst case scenario. Then, in making a determination, the lead agency has not weighed the benefits. Oh, we did that already too. I'm sorry.
You did that whole paragraph before earlier.
I think I did. Yeah, I will double check that. Mary Lou and I were working and emailing back and forth and moving
Move
things
it
around,
there,
and
move
move
that
this here and move that there. Procedure for how we arrived at the secret determination. We talk about the two petitions that were received. And finally, the conclusion. The notice of negative declaration of environmental significance is issued pursuant to 617 of the implementing regulations of seeker. As lead agency for the project known as the Granary, we determined that the proposed action will not have a significant effect on the environment, and the draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. And then we talk about as lead agency for the project and coordinating with the involved and interested agencies and our consultants, we have identified the relative areas of environmental concern. We examined them and rendered this negative declaration of environmental significance, finding no significant environmental impacts resulting from the action. And then based on the information available to us, there will be no significant adverse environmental impacts associated with this project. The environmental impact statement will not be required. Therefore, this determination of non-significance of environmental negative declaration of environmental significance under seeker is hereby approved, adopted, and issued. And then I am listed as the contact person. And then pursuant to this, it will be filed with the what's called the environmental notice bulletin. All type 1 actions must be filed with that. And then there's a list of the agencies that will get a copy of this. So before we talk about this, I'm going to add that document, Mary Lou. So we're going to call that whole EAF. Version 7. It's dated.
Actually, we're gonna have to have them correct that because it still says July
Okay.
as the
Yeah.
one from.
I'm going to assume it's the 18th because that was the day the additional plans were sent. If you could sign this, one of you, and then date it as July 18th.
August 18th.
August 18th, excuse me.
August 18th, and also switch the
And then,
7.2.
yeah, if one of you is willing to make those corrections on this document.
Dennis had done the original.
Yeah, Dennis did tell him as a representative. Yeah,
Can I,
yes.
just in terms of that though, Mary Lou, the one thing that I had forgotten and I found for myself is that the gallery space the space for that hadn't been considered in the parking, and we had a back and forth with the applicant. So I was trying to look at that.
It was in the final.
It is in the final. And then in the letter, they say, This is just a gallery space, they've edited plans, and it says it should be noted that the project EAF has been revised to reflect the parking and its associated calculations. So two things came up for me when I was doing that. One is they're calling it a gallery space, but in the EAF, I think it's called gallery / artist.
Gallery, artist gallery / co-worker
Art
space.
gallery / artist studio. What it's called.
Yeah, the co-work space, and to clarify, the co-work space and the gallery are not the same space. correct?
Yeah, so, yeah, I just, the EAF version, I was just looking at how,
Oh, so they combined in that
and
version.
it says, and then in this document, it says artist.
What section is that there? So,
Oh, it's just in the beginning.
Right, it's in the brief, in the description, it does say artist gallery / co-work space.
there are two different spaces.
And then it says it again. That might. I think that was. The parking we've already taken care of, so I just read that sentence. I didn't need to. But then the other part is on 41, where we're amended zoning petition.
Mhm.
It says art gallery / artist studio, but like, I just, is
Yeah.
that right?
Is the art gallery and the co-work space, they're in the same building, correct?
No.
No?
The discussion we had at the meeting here was the whole barn being potentially used for gallery space.
And they wanted to include it in the
Okay.
calculation.
And then the co-work space is the other building. Okay. So it's not art gallery / co-work space. It's just art gallery
And
and and co-work space, not slash.
unless they're being considered as the same use in terms of parking calculations, I don't know. But then the other thing I noticed, the reason why I brought it up now is because on page 41, it says art gallery / artist studio. So I wasn't sure where that.
I think we should just take out the artist studio and just art gallery. Because there wasn't ever any discussion about studio.
I don't think so. I just didn't know where
I'm
that
not-
came
I'm
from.
I'm not sure.
Pursuing that, if I'm remembering the conversation right, like they are leaving the building there, but they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, and we're
They
gonna,
wanted to consider it in the parking.
In the parking,
So
yes.
that we considered that
Yeah.
there would be a use.
so we're gonna take out the artist studio. And I'm gonna leave bed and breakfast in the first zoning petition, but I'm gonna change it in the second because we reclassified it as an inn
Right.
under our code.
Could that be in the revised changes that I look for the page now, that was in the beginning, where we said that they removed the wellness and reduced the co-work space, should it be noted that
They renamed bed and breakfast to an inn.
no, not that, the galleries.
Okay,
That they,
yeah.
that they.
Where
reduced the
Where
size,
was that showing?
Page 10.
Thank you.
In the middle paragraph.
Yeah.
So that they, because it was a size reduction, right, on that, the Colborne.
Yeah.
Was originally planned to 700 square feet,
It's 700.
but it was reduced from the original number that was proposed, right?
Right, so I think what happened was they could have figured out how much,
Yeah.
once you started cleaning it up
Mhm.
and.
So just reduce co-work space and gallery.
Okay, I will reword that and
But so,
300 and change of that is.
yeah. But then on B, I'm sorry, I think maybe I'm confused. For B, should that match?
where are you
Page
talking?
41.
On page 41, do we want B to match more?
Yes, it should match what is being approved. Well, yes, that's,
So the wellness center shouldn't be there.
Yeah, there's a.
well, so in the amended zoning petition, it was still there. It went away after that during discussions. This is only, so maybe I should do a procedure C.
Yeah.
Saying,
With like, with the
Okay.
fine
Yeah.
that we
Final.
have.
Yeah.
in which case I'm gonna leave bed and breakfast in
Yeah,
B.
The way it was, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave C, well, we're gonna take out the artist studio, no matter what, because I don't know where that.
Maybe it was on their,
It may have been in the original petition.
maybe it was on their,
Yeah, because that's where I copied this.
if
some
you,
of
yeah,
this.
that's what I was asking.
Yeah, let me check the original petition, but out of the C, we'll just say further change
Final change, I thought.
Yeah, final change, okay.
Also, new apartments, why does it have 4 in parentheses next to it? Isn't it 2 units?
It's now.
It's now two. It
So
was
on-
one time. It was one time 4, it became backup house plus 2. So we're gonna change, we're gonna remove the wellness. We're gonna change the B and B to inn. And we're gonna change apartments to. And add the backup house with that. And it's not a bike shop with the tent opening, right? The bike shop is in the yellow building by itself. Correct.
So then the inn is just.
Yeah.
And then the bike shop's just the bike shop.
Yeah, so it's just the inn, and actually the bed and breakfast doesn't exist anymore. And bike shop singular.
And you also had us modify some things.
Correct.
And the retail space? What's the retail space? Is that the same?
The coffee shop.
The retail space is really it's the restaurant, coffee shop /
Okay,
yeah, that's
so it's,
combined.
we're considering it though, an addition.
Yeah, it is. The retail, there's the restaurant, then the retail space is like the takeout coffee.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
It's all one space, but it'll be separated. The restaurant / coffee shop is kind of one and the same, and then the retail space is a part of that. It's kind of an accessory to the restaurant, just like in a diner, you can either sit down or you can get your food.
Or retail in a restaurant, you get to take out food.
Well, it's restaurant, coffee shop. So,
Is it like a grab and go
So
or?
think more like
Well, no, they
Dyson,
said that
where
there's
there's a
gonna be a
seating area and
seating
there's.
yeah, there's
And
a
the-
seating area with involved with the restaurant, but the retail space is to,
No, they said there would be a 4-seat seating area at the coffee shop.
okay. And then the restaurant,
and then the
but they're all in the same ground floor of the same building.
I have a question on page 35.
Yep.
So for the, consistency with community therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's needed there is not something we came to the conclusion of, that's from the applicant. Should we be stating that? So the one says proposed, project proposes, but the rest, like, did you confirm with Jerry that there was no certificate of occupancy? Like, should it be stated that we aren't the ones confirming 2, 3, and 4? That
Well-
was from the applicant?
So, just like the noise, these are what the applicant states. And then I did not confirm that there was a certificate of occupancy, but I can certainly tell from visually looking at that building that it is not habitable. So let's say the applicant states,
Yeah, that's why I just don't,
Yeah.
I don't want us to be
Um,
responsible.
let's say
for
one
those
structure is
determinations.
reported by the applicant.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be clear that it wasn't us reporting that it
Understood.
is on.
One
inhabitable or
structure
anything
has
like
been
that.
identified by the applicant. Understood. Okay. So, Mary Lou, what did you find in there?
I think that the not, but for the 7.0, it has to also be corrected
Can Alan just?
and bed and breakfast moving it in.
Yep.
And then, yes, we really have to correct it.
Yep. Can we write
Whoever signs it, be it Alan or Mike, can come up and sign this one they've given us and they can,
Fair enough.
that's
Are
very
you-
common.
Doesn't matter, whichever one of you wants to do it.
Want to flip a coin, rock, paper, scissors?
Because
The engineer.
we'll then scan this and include this as the official. I'm gonna say, in this list, it's gonna say full EAF Part 1, version 7, dated 4/18/2023, as amended 9/14/23 by Alan Dumas.
Would you leave it capital or smaller? No, it's going to be fine.
Okay,
And then. Beautiful.
Great.
Okay.
so
So I
give
want
that
you-
back to me.
Can I just, I'm sorry, can I see the first part of that real quick, just to make
First
sure?
part of what?
Okay, okay.
I just to take out the art gallery too. Probably because that's on the description, right? Art gallery slash artist studio.
It doesn't say art studio.
Does it say art gallery slash co-work?
It does, but. And it's 57 parking spaces is the line.
There's a number on there.
It is, I'm just confirming.
Oh,
It's because it said they updated it.
so yeah, so you're confirming
I was-
57. You're not, that wasn't a statement that
Statement
this is wrong.
No, right.
So a statement of agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
It said that they had updated the parking in the newest version, and so I was just.
Okay. So everybody
So I
agree to that, Mary Lou witnessed the changes and is okay with that?
Do you think it's okay that it says artist gallery slash co-work?
We can change it to and co-work space or a comma and have Alan initial that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, so that they're separated.
I was gonna do that.
That
Okay, Alan. comment.
Takes a slash to a comma. And initial that.
There, now it's a comma. That's a comma.
Okay.
I know, it looks like an S.
So
Looks like an S.
first thing I'm gonna do is ask for a motion to accept this amended part 1 as amended by Alan Dumas, September 14th, 2023. Alan Dumas, applicant's engineer.
We have the data as August 18th.
Right, but I'm gonna say as amended September 14th, because he just amended it.
Okay,
So as amended September 14th, 2023.
I'll make that motion.
On a second,
I'll second.
Chrissy, I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote on that.
Councilman Coleman's absent, Councilwoman Nowen, Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sneezer, Supervisor Brady.
Aye. Next, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the part 3.
nope. You're going to re-adopt your part 2
Okay,
because you have a different.
different part 1. Okay,
different Part 1.
so
So you're going to.
next I'm going to ask for a motion to re-adopt the part 2 as adopted September 7th, 2023, to reflect that no changes made due to the amended part 1 EAF. Does that sound okay?
But there are changes.
No.
To reflect no
Just
changes in
part
the part 2 due to the changes in the part 1
Okay.
EAF.
Let's start that all over because Chrissy's going, what the heck?
Yep, so
Except she's not thinking heck.
here's the motion. Motion to,
I would say motion to amend resolution, whatever it was, of September 7th, 2023, adopting
part 2.
part 2 of the EAF for the Greenery Project to reflect revised
To reflect
EAF Part 1
Let's say amended, because we use amended.
Okay, amended.
Part one EAF
Um,
as amended September 14th, 2023 by Alan Dumas, DUMAS. Applicant's engineer.
can you read it back so I can remember what the beginning was, so I can? Sorry, Chrissy, I know. Throw things at me. It's okay. It's warranted.
To amend resolution number,
What?
whatever,
We'll have to
Fill that
insert,
in.
Kate will have to tell us.
adopting EAF Part 2 to reflect amended EAF Part 1.
Okay,
Gonna have to say to adopted EF Part 2 of the Granary project as adopted September 7th, 2023. So
Adopted EAF
adopted Part 2
Part 2.
of the EAF of the Granary project as adopted September 7th, 2023.
okay, but that still doesn't get where we need. to
No,
be.
then we say due to amendment. We have to say readopt. We have to say we readopt Part 2.
I was just gonna say that we amend this to reflect that this is based on the full EAF,
We can do
the
that.
amended full EAF.
Well, let's just start from scratch. How about we say,
That's what I was doing.
yeah, so we adopt the Part 2 EAF on September 14th, 2023 to reflect the amended EAF Part 1 as amended 9/14/2023 by Alan. You're smiling at me like you don't like it.
I don't.
Okay,
It said the amended as amended.
well,
All right. I'm gonna write it down.
so, yes.
Take a 5-minute recess for a bathroom. Figure this out.
Okay, well, you figure it out.
I'll take it. So how about that Giants game?
Anyone's our-
Oh, sure, sure.
Don't distract me while he's playing. He's maybe a bigger Giant fan than I
Wouldn't marry my husband until he switched from
am. I know.
Cowboys fan, he's just setting my daughter up for disappointment the rest of her life.
My whole Cowboys fan, but I won't accept the ring till I change.
I think if we just say we readopt.
You know what I think we should do? Rescind it
And then just adopt.
and then adopt a new one.
Okay.
But
That's
no
what-
one's gonna
And
follow.
I'll make the team resolution.
Yeah,
Scratch all that out. Chris,
Yeah.
you did, I'll start from scratch.
yeah.
Learn to know what you're-
Just rescind the former one and then adopt.
Yep. Easy way to go.
Yeah.
A motion. Rescind.
So the motion is gonna be to rescind the part, I'm gonna have to say it again from there. So the rescind the Part 2 EAF.
No, you're just gonna rescind resolution number whatever.
Oh, we don't even have to say what it is? Okay. They don't have to give you the resolution number blank of 2023. End of story. I gotta look at it. You didn't take the full 5 minutes.
Throw in the towel. Speaking of the Giants, you can come watch the Giants with us. Bring your baby boys or-
Oh, I know nothing
The
about this
Adam,
family.
so that was the one that Adam,
Oh, stop. You can come watch the Rangers with us too.
We'll figure it out.
I bartended in sports for
Just,
3 years.
Mhm.
we'll figure it out.
I just.
I wouldn't be able to
purposely messed with
concentrate on the work.
ice purposely. That's like when the World Cup was on, I showed up in a Giants jersey like that.
I don't know what that Motion.
Person that came to sport.
If I have to, I'll go back. and watch the tape.
I played basketball one season, broke 8 fingers. That tells you how athletically inclined I am. to do games.
Like you can redate your.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the data for today. Okay, new method, Aaron. So the first motion is to rescind resolution blank that we made last week. So we're just gonna say rescind resolution blank of 2020. So somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Still a roll call vote. 'cause
Yep.
it involves Sika.
That's secret.
Okay, Councilman Coleman's absent, Councilwoman Manowen,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sneesa, Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, a motion to adopt part 2 of the EAF for the granary project as presented, dated 9/14/2023. And I'm gonna redate this and submit in those two.
Motion to adopt part 2.
EAF for the granary project as presented
Mhm.
on
9/14.
9/14/24.
Mhm.
And I think before you vote, you need your first and second, you should have some discussion that explains that,
So let me get a
that the
motion.
change
Let me
is
get a
happening.
motion. Have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. So we're discussing that no changes have been made from the previous. This readoption is due to the amended part 1 of the EAF by the applicant's engineer.
Makes no,
And it makes
No
no
changes to your
significant change
access.
to the review.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the discussion item. Now it's a roll call vote.
Councilman Coleman, absent, Councilwoman Manowen,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sneesa, Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Next, I'm asking for a motion to adopt the part 3 of the EAF. You tell me when you're ready for the next.
Mhm.
As prepared by the town supervisor and the attorney for the town,
Mhm.
as discussed and amended at the September 14, 2023 Town of Rochester Town Board meeting. Declaring let me get the correct terminology, a notice and negative declaration of environmental significance.
Larry, what?
A negative, it's actually at the bottom of page 41. If you want to make a note for yourself for tomorrow. A notice and negative declaration of environmental significance pursuant to part 617. Yeah, page 41.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. And you
Yep.
can get it.
I see
Part
it.
617 of the,
Mhm.
we won't say implementing, of the regulations pertaining to Articles 8, State Environmental Quality Review Act of the New York State Environmental Conservation Plan. So it's basically that paragraph minus the word implementing
but for the granary project.
for the granary project. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Any discussion on that? As far as discussion, we made some amendments. I can make them. Does the board want, can I send them to the board to verify that it's the amendments we made? Can I send it to you? Because I'm gonna sign the document, but we made amendments and somehow.
You want a
somebody-
second set of eyes? is
Somebody
what you're
should
saying,
verify that the amendments were made as we discussed tonight.
Before you.
Yes. Can we authorize you to do that or can?
Yeah, well, first, adopt it as amended, and
Okay.
then you can say,
Okay.
and to.
Okay. Let's
So we may
adopt
as
it.
well add- Yeah, do that.
Let's adopt it as amended and then
Adopt
we'll
it
do a
as
second
amended, and then we'll
resolution
do a resolution to allow
to,
you to
for
send
the
it in.
amendments. Okay, so
Okay.
roll call vote.
Or was there anyone else who wanted? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, was there any other discussion other than that question? Thank you, Aaron. Okay, I think we had the discussion as we went. Now roll call vote.
Councilman Coleman, absent. Councilwoman Nowen.
Aye.
Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Councilwoman Smisak.
Aye.
Supervisor Green.
Aye. Okay, you should give you another day off. Oh, there you go.
Okay, on the-
Yeah, why don't you do the next one?
Okay. Let's do a motion to authorize the supervisor to send the declaration document to the DEC for publication in the wait, environmental notice bulletin.
Right, wrong. Is it notice or news?
Notice.
Okay.
Notice, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Notice bulletin. Upon review of the attorney to him to ensure all proper amendments were made in the document.
Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. We should do a roll call vote on that one. Too. It's the most.
Councilman Coleman, absent. Councilwoman Nowen. Councilman Paddock.
Aye.
Councilman Smisak.
Aye.
Supervisor Green.
Okay, we have a negative declaration. Thank you, everybody. A lot of work. I appreciate all the hard work, all the attention to detail. Been a real pleasure working through the process with all of you. I appreciate it. The next step is for us to consider a decision. I will work to prepare a draft decision for the October town board meeting, regular meeting, which I think is the. That will be circulated to you ahead of time for you to review. I will work on with Mary Lou on that, for the legal points of it, to make sure it will be done in the format of the way I did planning board decisions to some degree, because this is a land use decision. So if you have any conditions that you wish to add now, you can't have discussion through email, but they can email them directly to me, correct? So if anybody has any conditions that they would feel strongly about adding for the discussion purposes, email them only to me, not to
me as the
or to Mary
attorney to
Lou.
review them.
Yeah, okay. About the both of us, so, and then Mary Lou will review them. And we will put anything that is proposed in the original draft decision. And then we will discuss it and make changes as we go, just like we
When
did.
do you want our, because that's in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's also budget time for me too, but I'll be done with the budget by then. So I would say how about by the workshop meeting, which is 2 weeks from tonight? I mean, the audit meeting, excuse me, which is 2 weeks from tonight. Is that, see?
Yep.
So any conditions of regarding an approval, if you feel it should be a disapproval, send me that. If you please state why. What I will do is start out with a findings of fact, which lists the details of the application, where it is, what's being asked, the basics of that. Then there'll be a section that deals with the county planning board review, where we agree with the approve. And then there will be a final, which will be a conclusion of either approval or denial and any conditions that are opposed. And we also did talk about adding a second document, an addendum of, forgot the correct word I'm trying to think of, basically items we believe the planning board should consider, but are not a requirement of our decision. So just things we want to sort of call to the planning board's attention to make sure that they are reviewed. That kind of,
Yeah,
we
it won't be
talked
part of
about.
the decision.
won't be part of the decision. It'll be a separate document to send, separate from the decision to say, the town board believes or feels strongly about these items, and please, in your site plan review these items. So that's the future plans. Thank you both for all your help on this process.
It's a lot of work. See you later. See you later.
Thank you, everybody.
We cleared the room except for Mark. Look at him, he's in the color, he looks like he's gonna read us a story.
I'm not upset about it.
We're gonna make your board work now.
That's why I'm here. I'm reflecting.
Okay, next. Short-term rental cap. Everybody ready to talk about it?
Oh, I had an idea that I meant to ask Mary Lou about.
You can ask her right now.
Okay, what if, could we say that the number can't exceed like what it currently is? So if anyone drops off, there could be permits available?
The total number
Yeah.
of non-owner occupied.
Because there's a bunch of renewals up.
Including grandfathered ones
Mhm.
that we expect to sunset all the time. And this is our first renewal.
So I don't have, I forgot to bring the sheet. Do you have the sheet? of the total number?
Do I have the
Non-
sheet? I probably- it was 80.
I don't remember.
What, grandfather?
No, total.
No, total number of non-owner.
Like, what I'm saying is that we say
Right, I understand.
we're at where we want to be.
We understand what you're saying. We just need to know the number, and then I can craft a
Well,
resolution.
what do other people think?
Yeah,
It was
other
just an
people
idea.
are okay with it. We need to know what the number is. So that, we'll say that, the cap will be set to not to exceed total number of owner occupied, non-owner occupied permits at X, whatever that number is. So if one drops off, one can get added. We can keep a waiting list going, and as they drop off, they can just contact the people on the
Yeah,
waiting list
that's
and
what I was
say,
thinking.
yep. And that's fine, that's a fine answer, and I think it's a great compromise. Because I think some will drop off.
I don't think it's a bad compromise,
Okay.
but. There's a but. I'm trying to find it right now, the original number. Even with, I need to look at what the number is against, the goal is to, for me, and to be a part of the housing smart community is to be under 2% of our housing stock with that
Do you
number,
have
so as
the-
long as that falls
Do
in
you
there,
have
I'm
the
trying to
total
find
number,
the
do you have
email.
the total for housing units? Because that's what I need to figure that out.
That is what I'm trying to find my email from Joanne on that.
It's 3,000 something, I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, it was 3,000, so I'm just trying. to find- Just searching housing in my email, obviously.
Are you saying all units or non-owner?
Oh, non-owner
Occupied
occupied.
units.
Owner
2%.
occupied,
So it's
It's
86.
86 is the current non-owner occupied?
Yeah.
As of that report date,
As of this report date,
which is what?
was, August 10th.
And this would not take effect until January 1. So if any more come in between now and December, they're still allowed to continue.
So
this is-
should we phrase it that way?
Well, this is the 2024 cap. The law says we set the cap now for next year.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying instead of say,
we're just gonna say the cap effective January.
shall not exceed the
Shall
number
not
of,
exceed- Well, you're just gonna say, we're gonna put the number in.
I'm saying if more,
No, if
Oh.
you're doing it as
Yeah.
no more than what's there,
We
are you
should say
saying no
shall
more
not
than
exceed
what
the
we have today, or are you saying no more than what we have on
December 31, 2023.
yeah,
That's what we should do.
it can't be more than 106, but I don't think it would. We set the cap last year at 40, as of August 10th, 18, we had 18
So we still have 22 more possibilities.
possibilities, but at this rate, I don't think
I would agree.
so. You're looking.
Okay, so if it were 3,000, 2% of 3,000.
It's not though. I want to get the exact number because this 2% matters for grants.
Right, I'm saying it's 60 though, and what did you say we're at?
86
So we're below 2%.
No, we're
above.
above. We
Oh,
have 80
ours is above.
Ours is above, yeah, but I'd rather know what the number is.
Yes, no.
I don't know that we're gonna, I don't know that we're gonna get to.
I don't want to have to add it because the sheet is.
Oops, not right.
I'm just trying to figure out what the target number
Yeah.
is.
Oh. But we can't,
It's 3,300.
66.16.
but we can't, yeah, we won't hit that no matter what, because we can't tell someone, you said that we're not allowed to tell someone who has a permit that
can't
they
take it
can't
away.
renew.
Can't take it away from them,
So
but we could say that we could set that the cap cannot exceed that. This is the cap, and so if 25 of them go away, then we could go back up to 66. So it would effectively be at 0, depending on how many go.
Maybe you just actually make it 0 because your goal is to get down to 60, whatever. And you can, say because we want to apply for grants, so we have to get.
But
this.
I don't anticipate we're gonna, even
don't
if we
think-
set
it's
it
gonna
at
take the
0,
time.
I don't think we're gonna get to it next year.
No, I don't think you
We're
are
already
either,
up.
No,
but
I
at
don't think
least,
so.
at
either.
least you
I think
can
it's
start on that road.
Future thinking that people don't reapply and then try to, like, this is like 66 or whatever, based on the percentage.
And the grant
each
is
year.
for the grant involves non-owner occupied, not total, right? Correct.
That's just to be considered a housing. smart
Understood.
community as far as.
But that's because that's due to non-owner occupied. Owner occupied is
Yes,
okay.
non-owner occupied has to be less
Yeah,
than 2%.
that's what I wanted to clarify.
Owner occupied can be as
Whatever.
many as you want, but non-owner occupied should be 2% or
Okay.
less to be considered a housing smart community.
So-
according to Olson
Can I ask-
County.
We now know it's 66. What did you say the number is that we're at currently?
86 as of,
So that would be, there's 20 different, we're 20 over as of August 10th.
can I ask you something,
Yeah.
Charlotte? Is that what is allowed? Are the numbers we're talking about total numbers that the municipality allows, or? And because we heard last week that there's like 140 additional.
You mean the illegal?
Mhm.
No, that's what it's, so when we're submitting like the housing smart community, how it works when we join with the county is we submit our laws to them, that certain laws move us up in the ranks of being the housing smart community. And our short-term rental law, our laws have to be accepted as being compliant with a housing smart community, in the sense of the word. And so if our short-term rental doesn't have a cap or has a cap that is higher than 2%, we cannot be accepted to move up to get benefits of more grants and things like that. That's one of the points that we can get in that community. So we can be denied from our law. for-
It's similar to the
Yeah,
environmental with the bronze and the silver and the gold level.
Yeah, I understand.
as far as I understand, as far as I understand it.
We won't lose our status, but we will.
No, but
rise
we
to the
won't be
next
able
level.
to ride, yeah, it's one of the steps to be able to take and for it to count towards that and.
Well, we can-
And the county, like, county and the state as a whole is trying to move towards that number of 2% or less of your house.
Well, we can work toward that goal.
So why don't we just make that the number? So whatever the housing stock is at the whatever time of year, 2% is the number for the following year.
Well, it has to
Right.
be total, because our caps are, what the caps we're making are adding. So every time we make a cap, we're saying.
Well, but we can.
We can amend the
We
law
can,
just to
we
make
don't have to amend the law. We can make the cap be a total number. We've always just been doing it as additional
We discussed
in our
it.
Yeah, we
resolution.
had discussed.
But our cap can be just, the cap cannot exceed 66, and we see how many go away. And if, like I said, if 25 go away, then we can add 5 more. If 18 go away, then there's no new ones.
But for this year, we would just say 0.
No, what I'm saying, for 2024, we set the cap not to exceed 66 in total, even though we're over it.
If in.
Oh, because then
if
no one can, it's
There is
zero,
still a chance
technically
that 30
zero.
people could
Right.
not.
I understand.
enroll, and then
So
one
if,
time
if December 31, technically they have to reapply between December and the end of December. If they don't reapply by January 1, their permit goes away, I believe. I'd have to go back and read the code, but I don't think there's a grace period. I think you don't
No, it's-
reapply,
you don't, I think, remember.
You can apply ahead.
You can
apply
apply ahead, but
ahead.
you don't. reapply
there's only a
before
window of
December
time that
31st.
it can be considered. And if you don't reapply, it's gone. And I guarantee you, there's gonna be an awful lot of people who don't reapply, and it's gonna be just like what the assessor's office goes through. People who don't reapply their exemptions, and they come in and go, what do you mean? I had it, you didn't reapply.
But
So-
anyone who did, but, so the way we have to word it though, is if you're operating a compliant short-term rental and you renew within the window, you will be approved.
Right.
But if you don't, then.
But the
you're
win-
like,
The window is within 2023, so we just set, as of January 1, we set a cap of 66 non-owner occupied in total. And I mean, if we need to word it, say, or to allow, how about say, to allow no new applications to exceed
A total.
66 in total. So.
cumulative.
Yeah, you have to
That's-
phrase
I
that
was gonna say,
carefully.
you phrase that
Someone's gonna
correctly,
think you can add
that
66
more, yeah.
total new ones.
Okay, yeah, aggregate, good, yeah, so. Okay, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. So,
Just while we're on the topics of Airbnb, it's funny, we've gone back and forth over the years talking about what the potential inventory is, of what we know, what we don't know. I did some heavy research by actually going on the Airbnb app and plugging it in. The one problem that we come up to, because we heard as much as 305, I think was a number somebody threw out. Unless they have some different numbers that they're using. The Airbnb app takes a square space, the size of your phone. You make it bigger, smaller. But if you take the town of Rochester, it also incorporates parts of Warsing, Olive Bridge, Gardner, and Stone Ridge. There's about, I plugged in a random date, my birthday of next year. It's like 7 months from now. It's not a holiday or anything like that. It should be, but it shouldn't be a peak season. I've narrowed it down to about 205 total Airbnbs in the area of Rochester. Here's the problem though, when you scale it all the way down to the ones that are like $150 a night. So multiply that by 30, it's 4,500. Nobody's paying $4,500 for these houses, right? Divided by 2 or 3, you're basically talking about a $1,500 to $2,000 a night house. It comes up with 30 properties in that geography. The big problem is most of them are tents, tiny houses on wheels. There's one that is laughably a coachways bus. So I'm calling for stronger enforcement by our code enforcement at the end of the year. The folks that are being compliant are, participating in the health, safety, and wellness of their commercial business that they're using on their property. These other folks need to be held accountable.
well,
And another reason to support regulated overnight lodging operations such as inns.
Yep. but to add to that, we are still waiting for the list of registered with the county. I still have to find out with the new sort of rules by the county, if I can share the information with this board. I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order to get it the first time. That was the previous county executive and the previous county attorney's opinion and the previous finance director's opinion.
I think you have the same term though.
Well, yeah, the comptroller, who I know is not a lawyer in that profession, she isn't a lawyer. She believes very differently about the ability to share that information. Anyway, the long story of where I'm getting to is we will have the number along with all the data of who is registered for tax purposes in the county in our hands, I'm told very soon, because of the transition in the finance department, major transition. A lot of that was not compiled for some time. That number 305 comes from this site source Granicus, who is a nationwide company that does data research and is publishing an awful lot of these short-term rentals. I know you're looking at Airbnb, there's also VRBO, there's also all the others. Some are on multiple entities, but I've kind of found that many are not on multiple entities. They're on like one or the other. And so I agree with you, we need better enforcement. We have to be able to identify, and the problem is proving it, because we can't go on the property. So unless we have a way to discern that it really is being rented out, we can't really issue a violation. So now the the tents and the ones that shouldn't exist under our code, maybe we can, I don't know. But I agree with you, we need better enforcement, and we gotta work on that.
Because at the same, I've read, 2 years worth of constabulary reports that say, short-term transient rentals are causing traffic and neighbor-to-neighbor complaints. Again,
The problem is the majority of those neighbors, we asked them to submit a written complaint and they refuse.
but if
They wanna pick
half
up
of
the
them are
phone.
illegal and we can even get a fraction of those through enforcement, we can reduce that monthly.
Agreed.
Two things in response to what, you checked my, sorry, I totally lost the second thing.
That's okay.
One, a couple months ago, I had forwarded you an email to be able to gain access to those lists that you had to respond to, and you said you weren't comfortable with signing that to the person at the finance office. Because I could not I wasn't the original person that contacted for those lists and signed it at NPR.
Okay, I don't remember that conversation. I'll go back and try to.
That's
figure out
fine. There was a
what-
new person in the position.
Yeah,
They
I-
didn't have your original form email on file because it was a new email and,
Yeah, well,
said
it
they
wasn't an
wanted-
ea there was a contract that the town.
Yeah, and they
signed.
had requested that, and you said that you weren't comfortable forwarding it, but that's fine, if you don't remember that, I can
Yeah,
try
I
to
don't
find the email and send it to you again, because I was told I could have access to that list
By who?
by Kai.
Kai doesn't have the authority to.
But
say
no,
that.
he said that other municipalities did, and I had to contact the
Okay,
finance.
I'm gonna
and that's
go
what I
through,
did.
I'm gonna go through the county attorney and find out, because I'm not gonna take the planning department employees. And I apologize, but,
No, totally
but it's,
understand.
it's, I hate to say, it's my personal liability. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so,
get it.
yeah, I'm just gonna find out for sure if that's accurate.
Yeah, the question is, are they granting access to the board as a body, or are they granting access to you as an individual would be the
Yeah.
question?
Well, the original was, it was granted to me as the supervisor and only to me as the supervisor. I could share the numbers to you, but I was specifically instructed I could not share any of the data that was in the report. I could share overall topics, but I couldn't say this property has a short-term rental. This property, I could not divulge that.
And then my second question about what you said is finding an ad of them advertising that they have a short-term rental not proof for us to serve them with a fine? They're advertising it, they're listing it online.
Go to court and prove it, and if the judge says that's enough, then it's enough.
Yeah,
And if
it's up to the
says,
judge.
oh, they just never took it down, they're not doing it, they come in and say, we're not doing it. We'll
No, but
take
if they
it
like say with someone who would never registered with us, and we find their
Right.
address, like we can't,
But they
like,
may have been there ages ago,
We-
they just
we-
never.
Usually you need to have physical proof of the use on the property.
Doesn't say we're listed,
And
but
the
we're
ad
we're
is
not
not
taking
physical.
any.
Just because somebody's advertising doesn't mean they're actually doing
But
it.
an ad with reviews saying they stayed there and gave them 5 stars, is that
That's up
not
to the
proof?
judge.
It's up to
They
the
can-
judge.
That's up
It's
to
up
the
to the
judge.
judge,
We can't
but-
just
Then is
find.
that not
Let's go to
worth
court.
us trying? to-
Well, I think that's just what
Fine,
Adam was
yeah,
saying. We
but-
have to get enforcement to be,
To find this blue box.
step it up.
No, but then my response was that we had to have proof, and that's what I was
Well,
asking. Is that,
regardless, I think we maybe came up with what we thought was a good solution.
yeah, as far as the cat goes, I think that that's.
Okay.
That was-
Yeah, you kind of.
Yeah.
diverted, 'cause we haven't, well, we haven't made a
I
resolution.
like that.
But the short answer is normally you have to, like, the code enforcement officer or one of his inspectors has to go and physically observe it being, in my opinion, being used as an Airbnb. Just like any other violation, they have to go be able to physically identify it. So just because somebody put a response up on an ad,
So here's the one for you.
Yeah.
So our constabulary has all these noise complaints, mostly generated from Airbnb. Why don't we ask our constabulary, here's the list of approved. If it's coming from an Airbnb that's not approved, let's,
we can try. We can try. I,
if
So-
our constabulary goes to a noise complaint and they say, well, y'all, we're Airbnb, we're from out of town, we're having a great time. And he looks on the list that we have approved and they're not on the list, then we should serve the homeowner. It should be that easy. I mean, I'm sure it's not. but it
well,
should be.
yeah, I don't think it is because constabulary is not, can't issue that a land use violation.
The code enforcement officer could issue it and then
And
they
that's
can
Be the witness.
deliver it.
So the constabulary could go to the code enforcement officer and say, I saw this one, and then they would literally turn around and say, yes, then I want you to serve.
Right, because
Could be
it's
that
not
easy. Could be
hearsay,
that.
because it's an official report
Or
of
literally
a
be a text message.
peace officer. As I spoke to this person,
And the same thing goes
Right.
though with us not being able to use an ad for if someone's renting,
Insert that.
but advertising a tent or an airstream, something that's not allowed in our law, we can't. The code enforcement officer, by the same idea, they can't go and search with people because we can't prove that they rented it, we could have just put it on the website.
Exactly. At
You
least
know,
that'd be my
you
opinion.
know what, I don't, let's,
It's up to the judge.
and it's up
We
to
can
the
all
code enforcement
theorize.
officer. He has enough to make a good case before the judge. And if he does, great, and then the judge will decide, after a trial, is this
Because
enough?
I'm just
Beyond
playing
reasonable doubt.
devil's advocate. Anybody can put an ad up. It doesn't mean that they're doing it. And anybody can post a review on a site. It doesn't mean that they even ever went there and stayed there. I'm just saying a judge who,
Why don't you just ask the code enforcement to look into these things, and then they can determine, they know what they need. Like, I mean, our code enforcement officer was a state trooper, he knows what he needs
All right.
to prove a case.
So as far as the cap goes, how are we wording this?
so I'll go ahead and make the resolution. So make a resolution. You ready, Christina?
She can hardly wait.
To set the 2024 short-term rental non-owner occupied cap not to exceed 66 total units in aggregate. Actually, it should say 2024 permit cap. Sorry, the word permit, I skipped that. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I'll second, but I just want to make sure. I'm sorry, I'll accept your, I'll accept, no.
Discussion.
I just want to make sure that it's clear though,
By saying it in aggregate.
An aggregate of what?
yeah, that
66 total units in aggregate, not to exceed 66 total units in aggregate.
I guess that anyone who's running a compliant non-owner, you could still have 86 next year.
Understood.
That's what I
Understood.
just,
So
how does the aggregate solve that?
Should it be new?
no, it's not
No,
new. It's
because
not to exceed
It's only
66.
something like 80 something.
It would be like,
Okay,
Yeah.
I got the answer. Not to exceed 66 total units in aggregate, period. Existing non-owner occupied. Who reapply for permits shall be allowed to continue in operation.
who,
Under the cap.
No, I don't even think we just say
Oh, yeah,
existing
because they
who
lose it, they try to
reapply
apply.
shall be
24 is
allowed to
It
operate.
expires
who,
after.
who apply,
I don't think we have to say anything more than that. We just say existing who apply shall be allowed to operate. If you apply, you're allowed to operate. And the 66 is the in aggregate. I think we're fine. I think. And the bottom line is, we're telling the code enforcement office what it means. I mean, this is not like a seeker resolution.
Right, well, we're telling the code enforcement officer what it means, but if it's not perfectly clear
Okay,
to a property owner, they may
understood.
say that
Understood,
that
but we-
was
we-
unclear, so
Sure,
therefore.
well, we run that risk. I'm just,
Well, that's why we try and make it
Yeah.
as clear as we
yeah,
possibly.
but I think I'll be honest. I think it's covered.
Existing non-owner occupied who reapplied for,
Who reapply shall be allowed to, who reapply and meet law requirements, which is the inspection, shall be allowed to operate.
law requirements.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just wondering if that wording means that they can reapply, if their permit expires and they don't apply by the end of 2023. Is this wording gonna let them reapply in 2024 after, is it gonna supersede the law that says they can't, once they don't reapply, they lose it?
Okay, let me change that last sentence. Existing, not owner occupied. Short-term rentals who renew their existing permit, not reapply, who renew their existing permit shall be allowed to operate, even if in excess of
Oh, that shall be
66.
exemption.
No,
no,
no, because we don't want, because the first 66 still count.
Right,
So-
exactly. I guess exempt from the cap overage.
Well, that's what I was saying, even if they exceed the cap of 66, the same thing,
Final answer.
yeah.
Existing non-owner occupied short-term rental who renew their
Their permit,
existing
existing permit
permit
shall be allowed, renew their existing permit and
meet law.
meet local law conditions. Or local law requirements, not
Mhm.
conditions, local law requirements, shall be allowed to operate above the 66 cap. Yeah, so the first 66 count toward the cap. But if 67 comes in, they can still get their permit. If it's a renewal, but if it's a new one, they can't.
right. But shoot,
You just told me how tired you were tonight.
I know. If we open the application, that means that we can't take any new applicants until January 1st.
You can't renew your.
Only renewals can happen before,
No, you can file your renewal now. It doesn't take effect until January.
yes, I understand,
You're saying, can a new person come in this year?
yeah.
Yes,
And-
Yeah, 'cause
they still
So
can.
you have to
It's
say
all
after December 31st.
Right.
Then we could end up with more than 86.
Yes.
Yes, we could.
Okay.
in
We
theory,
could.
but I don't think,
In theory, yes, we could, but I don't think we're going.
I don't think.
We got to
it's
set a
gonna
hard
be
and fast number. 66.
Yeah,
But
okay, I just want to make sure we weren't,
No, I think there's going to be a number of them that don't come back. Or that just forget to reapply and, oh, well. And as soon as you don't reapply, you're brand new.
Yeah.
You're starting over again.
That what you're waiting
Okay,
for?
yep, all in favor? Oh, did I get a second on that?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. All in favor?
Oh, no, no.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay.
Sorry, 'cause you-
Next,
Both of them right down here.
printed out copies of the original record storage unit. We clearly got our prices and had sticker shock. That's. You. What I would like to do is sort of talk real quickly tonight through how to reword this. So, and I have an idea. This is basically a fairly simple, let's just say 30 by 100 foot building. Do we really need an architect to do it? Or can a contractor come in, do the site work, build a 30 by 100 square foot building, substantially reducing the price of all the architect's design work and project? So one option is I redo this and remove the architect portion. The second idea I had is to make this building smaller. And then the third idea is I could do both. I could remove the architect and make the building smaller. So I wanted to just get some feedback from you guys, what you want to do, so I can rewrite this, bring it back to you. And because I think we still need to consider this, but clearly we're not going to spend $1 million or $1.2 million on a record storage building. So-
Yeah, and I agree, and I think I even said this, what we need is a contractor who will like put a pole barn
It's a
and
pole barn with walls.
with insulation.
Yeah.
And I think if we take all that out, make it clear.
Yep.
But I do think we should probably keep it at 3,000 square feet
Okay.
based on what. Kate-
Well, let's try that, and if we find it's too expensive, then we can go down from there. But
What are we doing for heating system in there? Just remind me.
we're not asking for it to be heated, we're asking for nominal climate control. Basically, we don't want it to freeze, we don't want it to get to be 100 degrees in there, but if it gets to be 80, or it's not gonna be habitated by people on a long-term basis, somebody's gonna go in and get records. So we basically want a 40 to 80 type of range.
Yeah.
If they can do that, we're letting them sort of decide
Yeah.
how that's accomplished.
Yeah.
Whether that's done by air conditioning units or a heat pump.
And is
You
this,
know.
and is this thing insulated?
That's up to them and their design.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, the only thing
Yeah.
I keep getting at is that I keep getting these things for feeds of these just aluminum pole bar buildings that come up. And they're not very expensive. I just did a quick Google search. There's 10 vendors.
I don't think we want that simple, because we do want this to be more long-term.
But you can, so there's also, since also we're a little anti-metal building, we could do a wood one. But yeah, you can get basically the kits, the pole barn kits, the 3,000 square foot's
Yep.
pretty standard. I've already looked into building one of these personally. And then you can have your contractor insulate it, make it a permanent structure, but it just costs less.
I mean, I don't want to throw out costs, but I think we can cut at least half the cost. At least, if
I mean,
not.
I know what I
if
was
not-
quoted and it was.
If not 60% or 70%.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get some feedback. So the general consensus, leave it the same size. Get rid of the architect and just like get a contractor to do the site work, put a slab down, put a building on it with some doors and some windows and.
And I think, I also would say putting in there, like, we are looking to build a building solely to be used for storage. This will not be like a workspace. It should be, we're looking for a simple, pared down, cost efficient
Yeah,
proposal.
and I plan to just draw a rough sketch of what we're looking for, which is basically a 30 by 100 foot space with one small area that will be set aside for the recreation department for storage of stuff. And then we can not replace that shed, we can move it into there. So if we put a similar size with a little bit of expansion, maybe a 20 by 24 area, just popped in my head, 20 by 20, whatever, for recreation, the remainder for record storage, appropriate doors and locks and, that's it. So, okay. that's all I wanted to just get some feedback. I will work on writing that, getting it back to you guys.
Were we always planning on putting a shared space?
Well, not exactly, but now with the shed,
We were.
it was an idea that we talked
The
about.
front of it was gonna be used.
Yeah.
Here for breakfast.
Yeah,
3,000, like what Kate and
She
Alyssa
said they
decided that
could
they did?
it was an estimate.
No, what she said is over the next, like 10 years or something, and that they would be able to grow into that space, but also would be able to share it with others.
Okay.
if-
Yeah,
if
I
needed.
had conversations directly with her about the sharing of the space, and she was fine with that.
Yeah, we
Just
talked
saying,
about
there's
that at that
sheds
meeting.
$2,500 that are dollars that are the same size.
Do they have
as
a
the one we
floor?
had. Huh? Yeah,
Do they have a
there's one with a floor. I was gonna send it, I forgot
Oh.
to send it to you. I'll send it over.
Send
to
it
you.
to me then.
Yeah, it
Then
was
maybe,
it was like
you know.
$2,600 for the kit, and I was like, oh, this is.
Yeah.
I was
No,
like,
send it to me, and
this
then
my
if we
dad.
don't have to put walls inside this place, it gets even cheaper.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. Okay, adoption of policy. Due to some recent, I don't want to use the word issues, but I will. I put together this policy and would like to discuss it tonight and possibly adopt it as a copy. Copy for you. Can you put these two in Michael's folder, please? Okay, I'm proposing an adoption of a employee reporting of buildings and grounds repairs and maintenance concerns. It should be fairly straightforward, but unfortunately it doesn't appear to be, and so I'm addressing it with these 4 points. If an employee becomes aware of or observes any issue with buildings and grounds, repairs and maintenance concerns, they should notify the supervisor's office or the supervisor in an email or via phone call as soon as it's possible. Only in the case of immediate health and or safety concerns should the employee initiate action or repair. The supervisor or their representative will investigate and determine the need for repair or other action and delegate the work to be performed by an employee or outside vendor. Employees should not contact outside vendors or initiate or authorize any sort of work on behalf of the town unless specifically directed to do so by the supervisor. Employees are not permitted to make any purchases of materials without direct authorization by the supervisor for buildings, grounds, repairs, and maintenance concerns. Should an employee make such purchase, town board may seek reimbursement from the employee or vendor for any items purchased or work authorized without proper.
Seems straightforward.
There's been a couple instances with people directly calling repair places and not notifying us, and then I get involved and like, why are you doing that? We have a contract to deal with that, and with 4 buildings or 4 areas, you can imagine sometimes you find out things and we're the last to find them out, unfortunately. So it's happened too many times recently that I just wanted to address.
Should be the supervisor or the supervisor and.
No, in this case, it's the supervisor, town
Yeah,
supervisor.
I can't explain.
Okay,
No.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Good enough.
They're authorized to expend with by approval if it's within their budget.
Okay.
So, but everything should come to the supervisor or the supervisor's office. So that's either me or Seth. It should be reported, because then if it goes to Seth, he tells me about it and then we figure out what to do.
This makes sense. I have a couple of suggestions.
Okay.
One is, this is a standalone policy.
Yep.
I was thinking in 4, we should cite, because we have that in our purchase policy.
Okay,
We have a purchase policy that sets forth
it's our procurement policy. I'll cite the procurement
if
policy.
someone does that, then they're responsible for it. We don't sign off on it.
Yep. You said you had a couple of suggestions.
And then I was just wondering if we're gonna mention like our employment practices manual, like if someone is the only disciplinary, is this only if they, I'm just wondering.
This is just a policy, so
Okay.
the employment practices manual doesn't get superseded by this.
Okay,
It still exists.
But like, if someone were to do this.
We can take action under the employee.
Under that,
policy.
okay, that's.
This is just the policy of what to do when you discover something broken or wrong. Call the supervisor's office.
Okay.
I could be that simple, but I elaborated because these are the things that have been happening.
Okay,
So,
then that's fine with me.
so and this will be shared with every employee with their next paycheck. So I'd ask for a motion to adopt policy for employee reporting of buildings and grounds repairs and maintenance concerns as amended, as presented by the supervisor,
I'll make that
or
motion.
as presented by the supervisor as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next resolution, page 3. Town of Rochester Town Board authorized the town supervisor and town clerk to send a letter of request for consideration of a 3-way stop sign placement at the intersection of Main Street, Granite Road, and Towpath Road in the hamlet of Ackworth.
I'll make that motion.
And actually, it should say to send a letter of request to the town of Rochester Highway Superintendent and Ulster County DPW Commissioner, even though it's in the header. We'll add that in the resolution. So make that,
I'll still make that motion.
okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Whether the granary happens or not, this will be a traffic slowing down thing, and hopefully they will consider it. So I'm not asking for the crosswalks yet. I'm just asking for the stop signs.
Baby steps.
Crosswalks don't go anywhere, so they don't make sense.
What did you say that the town Rochester Town Board authorized?
We're gonna send a letter of request, and then we're gonna say to the town of Rochester Highway Superintendent and DPW Commissioner. So we're just gonna take the header and insert it after the letter of request, and then continue on for consideration. So just put an arrow up to that part. You got a motion and a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. This is one this is mine. Nobody has asked me about this, but I started looking closely. The town of Rochester Town Board authorizes town supervisor and the town clerk to send a letter of request to the New York State Department of Transportation for consideration of that portion of Route 209, both prior and after the intersection with Queens Highway, to be made a no passing zone due to the number of traffic accidents which have taken place at that intersection.
I'll make that motion.
Second. If you look both before, during that intersection and past, it's passing zone. And people pass and people are pulling out of Queens Highway and looking one direction. And if they're not crossing the other lane, they may not look the other way, and there's a car in their lane because somebody's passing. People fly past the gas station. So we'll see. We did get this done once before at Airport Road with a similar circumstance, and they took care of it rather quickly. So I'm hoping they will honor this.
Did it at the bottom of the hills, Lydia's there, that for a long
Yeah.
time, that was a passing zone right up the hill.
Yep,
And they
yep.
Shut it down.
Yeah. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Executive session.
Yep, town motions to enter into executive session at 9:12 PM.
Will you come get me when it's over?
Yep. For the purposes of discussions of matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of particular persons, and discussions of particular candidates of the planning board vacancy. I'm going to add a third one, discussions of ongoing litigation. And if, Mary Lou, if you can stay for that one, we'll do that one first.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Chrissy, thank you.